So, welcome to the first episode of the Slices of Time podcast. Obviously, a new podcast. This is my first episode, though not the first episode I'm recording. I already recorded two guests, which I'm looking forward to publish. But now I first wanted to make an introductory episode just to tell you about my ideas and visions of this podcast. First of all, the aim of the podcast will be to, um, well, I'll tell you how I got to the podcast. So the past few months, maybe even a year, um, I was struggling with several questions regarding my street photography. I wasn't sure about several things, sometimes even little things like should I put on music or not while doing my photo walks, and silly questions like that, which made me think like, okay, maybe I should look for which made me think maybe I should look for some street photography podcasts to hear what others get up to and how they look at things. And that's why I started looking around, trying to find podcasts about photography and about street photography specifically, because I was already following several podcasts about photography, but usually it was like photography in general or the business side of photography. Um, so there's that. Because in my day job, I'm a photographer for businesses, corporates. So I do headshots, I do business events, all that kind of stuff. But in my free time, I like to do street photography, and that's something I'd like to improve in as well, because it also influences my corporate work. But that's why I wanted to find out more about other street photographers, more than just their Instagram posts. And that's why I decided, like, okay, I'll go look, but I couldn't find any, at least not any recently updated podcasts. So after a few months of thinking and writing down all the questions that I had, I just decided to start my own podcast. Hence this one. Thank you for listening to the first episode. If not, I totally understand you're skipping to the guests parts and want to learn as well. So yeah, that's kind of why I started the podcast, just to learn from others, talk to others. Maybe they can learn from me as well. I hope so. Um, and also just to explore like what street photography, how do people go about things, the ethical questions, of course, but also the different styles. Like it's not just one type of photography. In street photography, you can do portraiture, you can do um, intentional camera movement. Like there's a lot of things going on. So that's why I wanted to do this. Now the name Slices of Time I came up with after first other name, which I didn't like. It was a good working title. But it's because I kind of see like photos being slices of time in that regard. If you have a timeline, a photo is usually like a short, yeah, less than a second, one thousandth of a second, or whatever shutter speed you're using. But it's a very short time, so that's why I wanted to decide it like it's a slice of time. It's kind of like yeah, like if you would cut up a timeline, you would get all these slices, and that's photography to me. It's also a slight reference to the song "Fragments of Time" by Daft Punk, which I really like, but that's kind of an aftermath explanation. So who am I? Perhaps that's also interesting to discuss quickly. So my name is Frederick, but everyone calls me Fred. I'm a full-time corporate photographer, so I do headshots, corporate events, branding photos, those kinds of things. And next to that, I'm also a hobby street photographer. So that's more where we'll aim at in this podcast. I will mention probably sometimes my day job, but it's not really the purpose to promote it or anything. I'm very curious to a lot of things, so that's why I'm also doing this podcast, because I just want to know how people work, how they think, and yeah, I love to explore, which also obviously helps with the street photography. The schedule for publishing this podcast will be every 3 weeks, because I thought a month was a bit too long. It's like there's not really anything. It's like very too few, too little for me. But every 2 weeks was too much probably. Because it is kind of a lot of work. It's finding the right people to talk about, contacting them, often following up on the conversation, scheduling time, which is often like an hour and a half. The conversations I had up to now. Of course, some editing, though I don't edit too much, but there's some work going into it, and of course promotion, like getting up for maybe Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and just uploading it, making visuals, making transcriptions for on the blog, finding all the photos we've talked about, that kind of thing. So every 3 weeks. Now this is the first episode, the first real episode with a guest, which is Thilo Janich from Hamburg, will be up next week, so you don't have to wait 3 weeks now. But after his episode, it will be 3 weeks until we have the conversation with Stefano Broli, which is a London-based photographer from Italy. So yeah, that's kind of how it will work. Of course, where to find it, you'll find it on most platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. You can find most links I'll have on my website, frederikpaulus.be, frederikpaulus.be. You can also just follow me on Instagram. I'll probably promote the episodes in my in Reels maybe, but definitely in stories. And of course, on my website, I will show all the photos, the text, everything. So yeah, I hope you look forward to it. I definitely am. So see you soon.